Hello everyone, what's up YouTube? Today we are gonna be doing the next video of the Python and we will be talking about a variety of functions of Python and what are they and how to utilize them in an effective manner. So without wasting any time, let's get started, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to me for further videos. And also, this video is a continuation of the previous series. So, in case if you haven't watched the previous series, don't forget to go and watch them because this will help you learn a lot about Python and you need the basics. So, let's get started to the functions of Python. So, let's get to the Google Colab. So, we will go to the Google Colab link, and as you all know, we are going to be doing most of the Python examples and Python programs. The Google Colab itself, you don't need to install much stuff. So, you might be wondering, what are the functions? Function is typically a block of code which only runs when it's called. Can pass datas, which are known as parameters, into the functions, and functions can be helpful in returning data. So let's get an example of why do we need functions. Let's say you want to add two numbers. So we'll do int a equals, or suppose we'll do a equals to 5, b equals to 10, and then we'll say print a plus b, and then we'll run this. As you can see, 15 is being printed. Let's say you want to add two numbers again. For example, we can say a equals to maybe 80 and b equals to 50, for example, and then we can print it as print a plus b, right? So as you can see, the two numbers are getting added one by one. Let's say you have a long program and you want to add multiple numbers again and again. Then how do you do it? Will will it not be redundant if you keep writing these lines again and again? So that's how we have functions into play. Functions are like a block of modularized code in which if you call a function or if you call that piece of code, it will return the same value instead of rewriting that same block again and again. It's known for reusability. So to define a function, we use the def keyword. So we will define it by def, which also means its definition. And then we have to write a function name. So for example, to add two numbers, we will write this function name as sum. And we have to pass two parameters over here. So let's say for now, let's not go into parameters. Let's say we have a simple function called as hello. All right. And over here, after you have to do a colon. A colon means a separator. And then you press enter. And then let's say you want to print world. Okay. And then we have this as a piece of or block of code. Now, if you want to print this output of the block of code, you'll have to say uh you'll have to call the function name as hello and then open bracket with the same parameter name, and then you run it, and as you can see, hello world is being printed. So that's how you call a function. You'll have to use the same function name and a parenthesis as in the function definition, which is given by def keyword. Now parameters are information that are passed to the function in as an argument, and arguments are specified inside the function name inside the two circle brackets. So we can add any number of parameters we want, but just we need to separate it by comma. So let's say we have to write the earlier add function. So we can write def sum, and then in the circle brackets we can write let's say a comma b, and then you say for example, mm, print a, plus b. Right. So now, if you want to add two numbers, you will have to write the function name, which is sum, and open the circle brackets, and then you pass the two numbers for which you want the sum. For example, 5 and 10 in our case. Then you run the function or the piece of code, and in this you can see that 10 and 5 is being added. So suppose you want to add two numbers again. Just you need to call the same function name and pass a different parameters, for example 100 comma 200. Then run it. For example, you want to add it again. We will write sum, then we will say 40 comma 60, and then you will run it. So as you can see, we are using the same piece of code again and again, and the code over here is much cleaner and more efficient. So cleaner code matters a lot in our Python, and for any standard industry that you go for, maybe for internships, for job, or for anything. So you need to write clean and efficient piece of code so that it's easier for people to understand, whoever is reading your code. And moreover, you can do much more with the function. So for example, uh, let's say if you want to subtract two numbers, let's say sub, let's write sub, and then we pass two parameters, or maybe let's say three parameters in our case. Okay, and then we separate by colon, and over here we are going to reuse this code by z equals, let's say, a minus b minus c. So it's not always necessary to print the values. So over here, instead of printing the values, we'll say return z. All right. So over, so let me clarify what it does. Um, so to do so, it means that once the function is called, the z will subtract the values of a, b, and c and store it in z, and the value of z will be returned to whoever is calling to the function. So let's say if we subtract with sub a, for example 4 comma 5 comma 6. All right. So let's say we do it like previous one. Nothing will get printed on initially, because uh, we are not having a print statement but only return statement. So once the sub is done, so -7 is being returned by the sub function. So we can also do over here print and sub, which we generally do in our case for printing. So it means that sub is going to return this block of code -7, and it's going to get printed. So as you can see, -7 got printed due to the print function, and also this block of code is returning -7 as a value of z. So that's what return function is in our case. And you can experiment or do much more with the function. You can pass a string variable and print it and do much more. Now we are going to talk about an advanced concept of the function, which is the Python lambda function. All right. So you might be wondering, what is lambda function? So lambda function is like a small function which are generally non-existent, or it can be called anonymous function. It does not necessarily mean that it looks like a function, but it can act like a function. So a lambda function can also have any number of arguments, but it can have only one expression. So the syntax is generally lambda, argument, and colon expression. Let's say you want to add 10 to a number. We can say add x equals to. Now, to write lambda function, we'll have to use the keyword called as lambda, as you can see. And let's say you want to store the value of z, and z will be added with 10. All right. Now, so so over here, typically x is our function name, and therefore to print it, we will say print x, and then we'll pass what value? Let's pass 5. Okay, and then we'll run it. So as you can see, 5 plus 10, 15 is being printed. So it is typically like def x is to colon maybe a parameter, called as s or something, and over here it return maybe s plus 10. Correct. So and then we are doing print x, and then we are saying 5. Correct. So as you can see, this lambda function is a shortened form of this function, which is generally being written. So instead of giving it a function shape to reuse and modularize the code and make it look neater, we use the lambda function. So you can use, suppose over here it's z. So z is our variable which needs to be returned, which we used x as. So we can also say z, and there we can say z plus 10. So both are technically the same, and we are printing it in the same way. All right. So now I hope you understand what is lambda function. Over here you can 1006, and then 5 will be passed and much value will be get added. Now lambda function can also take any number of parameter. So let's say we need to multiply two numbers, right? So we will say, let us say x equals to lambda. So x is our function name. So we will pass a comma b, and then we will say colon. What do we need to perform with it? A star b. All right. So now we will say print. Sorry. Say next line print, and then we will say x is to 5 comma 6, and then we run it, and there you go. We heard 5 comma 6 is multiplied. So that's what function means and lambda function mean. And so so that's it for functions today. And we are gonna be in the next video, we are gonna be talking about arrays and classes and object and inheritance, and deeper dive into more of the advanced function. So, and don't forget to subscribe to Technomad. See you in the next video.